Royals baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. It's another beautiful day in the Bay Area, a good day for a sweep as the Royals have won the first two of this three-game series with the Oakland A's. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the ballpark with Rex Hudler. I'm Ryan Lefevre. Joel Goldberg is coming up in just a little while. The Royals came to town. They were playing well. The A's were playing great, and the Royals just continue to thrive against Oakland.
They sure do. They got the first two games of this series to catch the series. Now, players like to say it's time to step on their neck, get the sweep.
The A's had a 5-game winning streak when this series began. Our Academy Sports and Outdoors leaderboard, all the emphasis has been on the wild card game. I mean, that was just an absolute heartbreaker for the A's. But the Royals are having success before the wild card game against the A's, and they've gone 4-1 this year against Oakland.
Well, obviously they're getting the runs scored, but really it's been the starting pitching. The starting pitching, especially in this series. Friday night it was Volquez. Volquez executing. Look at the three pitches that he has, all moving down, pitching to contact, using that defense. And he handed the ball right back over to Chris Young in last night's game. And look at the startling number. 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position. That's executing your pitches and getting it done.
Today it's Jeremy Guthrie for the Royals and Jesse Chavez, a former Royal, pitches for the A's. The first pitch is coming up next. By your local Kansas City Chevy dealers. Come visit for great prices on all the new 2015 Chevy vehicles. and by the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri. So play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. Inside the O.co Coliseum. And down on the field is Joel Goldberg.
Well, Ryan, there's a giveaway here today. It is Billy Butler Country Breakfast Bowl Day. Fans got these, and I'm told every Royals player has one too. Greg Holland on the pregame show said that he had already used it. He said you just put a bunch of stuff in there and mix it up. Alex Gordon just walked by and saw it and made a face looking like, you know, probably can't put any broccoli in this thing. That didn't sit too well with him, the health freak. As for the Royals, they're hungry for a sweep. HUD talked about stepping on their neck, and they feel like right now as they get ready to head to Houston, they can get greedy this afternoon.
Now that we've taken two out of three, I mean, we have the momentum going forward. I think that winning this game would mean that we will continue that momentum going to Houston.
So the Royals trying to get things going and finish off on a high note and maybe have a little bit of country breakfast when they go to Houston, guys.
Well, they've had a lot of momentum against the Oakland A's. The Royals winning yesterday. Minnesota also won, so the Royals maintain their 4.5 game lead. They are a season-high 15 games above 500, and they have won 10 of their last 13 against Oakland. Here's the Royals batting order presented by State Farm. We had a quick change moments ago. Kendrys Morales will play first. Eric Hosmer will DH, and Gerard Dyson will start in center field as Lorenzo Cain still has a sore hamstring. All to face former Royal Jesse Chavez.
Royals will be looking in the bottom of the strike zone with this guy. That's where he commands that ball. He's got fastball. He cuts the fastball, changeup, and a slider. Changeup's about 84. His fastball is going to average 90 to 95, but average is 91. That's his range, 90 to 95. He may hit 95, he may not. But look, he's comfortable sinking that ball and cutting it, and has some good late movement.
A little bit outside with Jim Reynolds, the home plate umpire. Escobar has 2 hits in this series, 9 hits on the trip. He's hitting .391 and has scored 4 times. And that's a little bit outside. Chavez is coming off his worst start of the year. Even though he was, where he beat the Rangers in that game. The A's beat the Rangers. He gave up 5 runs in 5 innings. That's the most runs he's allowed in 2015.
He's not just strictly a fastball guy either. He's really gotten comfortable using his changeups in any count, any situation. So there'll be a lot of fastball changeups today. Nice protection swing.
Escobar asking if that pitch was a strike. Pass Chavez. Sogard is playing it short today and throws out Escobar. So a couple of changes defensively for the A's. Max Muncy, a rookie, will start at third. No Brett Laurie. Ben Zobrist moves from left field to second base. And Billy Burns, we haven't seen him yet, with his 15-game hitting streak, is appearing in this series for the first time.
Yeah, speedster. Be interesting to see this young man play. He's got some energy.
Good change up to Mike Moustakas.
Going to throw a lot of them. Got to kind of look for the fastball, but then be aware that that changeup's always coming. Try to wait back on it.
Moustakas yesterday lost a 10-game hitting streak, but he did chip in with a sacrifice fly. It's the 3rd time in his career he's had a hitting streak of 10 or more games.
Interesting you use the word chip in, as he had his first career hole-in-one on the off day at Pebble Beach on number 17. Moose and some of the boys went out there. Great to hear about that, huh? That's pretty cool. Six at-bats is the most of any Royal. Morales and Infante have 6 ABs. The rest is 2 and 3. Rios has 7. Check that. First 3 hitters in this lineup have never gotten a hit off of Chavez.
Chavez spent parts of 2010 and 2011 with the Royals. He has really bounced around. He has been in the Rangers organization, the Pirates organization, the Rays, the Braves, the Royals, the Blue Jays, and now with the A's.
There's a little gift for Moose, because that looked like a great pitch.
Into right field and shallow, and Reddick is there to make the play. Chavez always had the arm, and when he was with the Royals, you talked about his speed range, but he averages around 91. Well, when he was with the Royals, he was 94, 95, 96. But like a lot of pitchers of that style, always seem to be overthrowing, good velocity, very inconsistent, and he is finally becoming somewhat of a consistent major league pitcher in his early 30s here in Oakland.
Yeah, his pitching coach Kurt Young told me that he's becoming a pitcher now. He's not a thrower like you mentioned. And you know, there's a lot to that. The guys get smarter. We've seen a couple of our starters, Young and Volquez. You know, they know it's not about power anymore. Kazmir, same way. These guys get a little bit more knowledge in the game, how to pitch. It's all about changing those speeds and locate.
Slider. 1-2 on Kendrys Morales. He had the game-winning RBIs in the 6th inning yesterday. After that big double steal, Kane and Hosmer, Morales got him home. Changeup is outside. And Morales enters today with a 10-game hitting streak. Fastball at 92. 3 up, 3 down for the Royals against Jesse Chavez. And both former catchers, both spent a lot of time in this stadium as kids watching the A's. And Oakland A's off to a tough start. Still 9 games back in the American League West. They are trying to avoid a sweep today. Bob Melvin being visited by Billy Butler, who is his designated hitter. Billy was not in the lineup yesterday, and Billy 0 for his last 13. And the A's will be facing Jeremy Guthrie for the second time this year. And here are the Kia notes from the game on April the 17th. Guthrie gave up 3 home runs in his 6 innings. And the A's ended up scoring 4 runs.
No free passes. That's always good. Guthrie. Fastball, changeup. He cuts his fastball, curveball. Keeping the ball in the yard often been the difference between winning or losing games for Jeremy Guthrie. He's got to be able to keep it in the yard, especially the left-handed batters. They've hit 10 homers off him with a 341 average. Righties 268 with 2 homers.
Gerard Dyson is out in center field today. He'll make the play on A's center fielder Billy Burns. So here are the Royals defensively, presented by Ford. Dyson in center. Kendrys Morales gets the start at first. We'll get more voting results tomorrow. That should be the last update we get before the final tallies. And Alcides Escobar, we hope, is on his way to Cincinnati as the starter at shortstop.
Sure hope so. Go along with several of his other buddies.
Eric Sogard lines it into center field.
Fastball up. Right out over the middle. Short, compact stroke. Morales making his 3rd start this year for the Royals over there at first base. Good hands. He's got good footwork.
Strike to Stephen Vogt. He had a very good series against the Royals in Kansas City in April, but he is hitless so far in this series and has come up in some key spots. In Kansas City, he was 5 for 8 with 2 home runs. He is 0 for 7 in this series.
Well, that's great when you can come through and get one of the best hitters in the American League out like that. Put him in the lane.
Never fair.
Guthrie's induced 4 ground ball double plays so far this season. Got to keep that changeup down, go breaking balls down, and that's what usually brings those grounders.
Sogard is a stolen base threat. He has 5, and he has not been thrown out. And he is running. He got a very good jump, and fortunately for the Royals, Vogt fouled it away.
All the defensive players are wearing sunglasses except for Kendrys Morales. Must feel comfortable without him. See the good jump. Taking a peek in, picking up that ball. And that also is to keep out of that double play by sending that runner. Vogt's only ground into 3.
2-2. And Vogt is down on strikes. Guthrie got him with a changeup. In game 1, we saw Edinson Volquez get to 1,000 career strikeouts. He needed 3, and that's exactly what he got in the game. And Jeremy Guthrie, with 1 more strikeout today, will have 1,000 for his career.
That's pretty awesome. In the same series, having 2 of your starters reach their 1,000 strikeout mark is impressive.
Jeremy Guthrie is from Oregon and spent some of his college days in this area, going to Stanford. Started his college career at BYU and then had the 2-year Mormon mission in Spain, where he says he didn't touch a baseball, but he picked up Spanish, which allows him to communicate with all of his teammates. Brought this up before. I've asked both Guthrie and Salvador Perez, when you guys talk on the mound, are you speaking English or Spanish? And I don't know if they're just messing around. Doesn't seem like it, but they both say, you know, I don't know.
Well, getting on the team bus today, Salvi was sitting in the driver's seat, obviously, with the seat next to him. And Guthrie got on the bus and said, and talked to him in Spanish. What an experience for Guthrie.
Ben Zobrist has been a hot hitter lately after missing a large portion of the season with knee surgery, and had a nice easy swing going the other way.
Sure was, and that's the elevated pitch there, the breaking ball. It stayed up, and he's able to read it. But you know, you talk about Guthrie not picking up a ball for 2 years. Think about the wear and tear that saved on his arm. A lot of guys were out there throwing in those 2 years. One of the reasons why Guthrie's well preserved. His fastball will go 90 to 94. Good two-seamer. It moves. Two-seamer, little four-seamer upstairs.
Josh Reddick, like Stephen Vogt, has been pitched very well by the Royals in the first 2 games. Infante plays it on one hop, hard hit, and that's the inning. The A's strand 2 after a couple of singles. No score at the end of 1. Are going to run the show at Kauffman Stadium, so parents sign them up. It's presented by Skippy, and for the game on Sunday, July 26th against the Astros, your child could spend the afternoon assisting with select game day positions. Strike 2, Eric Hosmer. Your child could be a team photographer for the day, a K-Crew member, a television broadcaster, an in-stadium host, and more. The deadline to apply is this Wednesday, so coming up in just 3 days. You can fill out your application at royals.com/kidsruntheshow.
What a day. That'll be awesome.
Eric Hosmer tweaked a finger on his right hand during that double steal in yesterday's game in the 6th inning. So a last-minute change. Hosmer was going to play first, Morales DH per the normal setup, but Ned Yost wants to give Hosmer a day off from defense, so he is the DH and Morales plays at first.
For just the second time in his career, he's DH.
Up the line, and Ike Davis will take it to the bag for the first out. Salvador Perez to the plate, and we remind you to look forwad to Miller time later in today's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Salvi 1 for 8 in the series with a double, and just 3 for 19 on the trip with a couple of doubles. So he's due for a big day.
Try to keep it simple as a hitter. Salvi was telling Joel in his pregame show, look, I just got to see it out over the middle and not miss it. And that's really basically every game when you see this. Now, every pitcher has their own tendencies. Some of them have basically the same pitches, but it's different arm angles. It's different, change of speeds. And so you have to zone him. And this guy here, especially with that 3/4 delivery he's got, is going to be moving that ball in and down.
Right at Billy Burns, who makes the play, 2 down. Royals head to Houston after the game today in our University of Kansas Hospital injury report. Colby Rasmus, in his first year with Houston, has not been in the starting lineup the last 2 games with a skin infection. 14 doubles, 10 home runs for the former Cardinal and former Blue Jay.
He's got some pop. Wouldn't hurt anybody's feelings on that pitching staff if he wasn't in that lineup when we get there.
No sympathy cards for
no,
the Astros?
0.
Okay.
Keep him out. Let him take 3 more days off. 4, including today.
Alex homered in game 1 of the series. Could be a tough play. Burns didn't see it, and now he finds it. Reddick had run all the way over from right field, and I think if Burns had never located the ball, Reddick would have been able to come over and make that play.
Good hustle.
A promotion today in his honor. He got the nickname Country Breakfast in his last 2 years in Kansas City. That carried over to Oakland, and they have a Billy Butler Country Breakfast Bowl giveaway, which Joel showed us before the first pitch. There you go.
Nice. I like how
those other items are sold separately.
Right, but they colored it up nicely. 4 straight pitches. Walk.
Also found out since we've been here that Billy will become a father for the 3rd time in November. His wife Katie is pregnant with a 3rd daughter. So little Kenley and Carson will have a baby sister.
There you go, Billy.
And I told him, I said, you know, when you try for that 4th one, you might have a little boy.
Sure hope he
has one.
happened
for us, you know.
Yeah.
And he looked at me like I had lost my mind.
It's all right. Good for him. Good timing too. November babies is good for a baseball player. You're home.
Ike Davis homered against Jeremy Guthrie when Guthrie faced the A's back in April. And now Guthrie's missed with 6 straight to begin the bottom of the 2nd inning.
He's got to be able to work ahead. He doesn't have that kind of stuff that he can get away with in the middle when he falls behind like that. He's got to throw strikes. That hitter knows what's coming.
So Guthrie didn't pitch all that well in April, but the last time we were here, our AT&T Uverse Rewind, Guthrie got into a duel with Sonny Gray. Final score was 1-0. Royals winning that game on a solo home run by Raul Ibanez. Guthrie and Gray were matched up pitch for pitch that night. An important win for the Royals. And that ended up being the last major league home run in Raul Ibanez's career.
Yeah, and I remember that game. It was a nail biter the whole way. Great pitching duel. There he finds the strike zone. It's a big start for Guthrie. Jeremy's been inconsistent, unable to put back-to-back quality starts together. Like to get a little run support, but also he's got to pitch to contact. Keeping it down.
Salvador Perez liked the pitch. So did home plate umpire Jim Reynolds, and it's 3-2.
Salvy's got incredible energy. Yeah. Great body language. Positive. Doesn't say a word, but look at him. That'll fire you up.
Just got a piece of it as Davis chased one out of the strike zone.
Ike Davis facing Greg Holland for the first time in his career to end the game yesterday. I talked to him before the game. I said, what'd you think about Holland's stuff? That's as crisp as I've seen it. And he says, that's the first time I've ever faced him. I'd like another shot at it. And I was expecting him to compliment Holland, but he was totally taking the, hey, look, I'm going to get him approach. Oh, man.
Strike 3 called, and that is number 1,000 in Jeremy Guthrie's career. I hope somebody reminds him of that.
Yeah, Salvy's calling for the ball now because they got his attention in the dugout. Yeah. Oh, he threw it to the wrong dugout.
Well, the authenticator is on that side.
Oh, there you go.
Pat Gorman, Royals equipment manager over on the Royals side, is watching the proceedings like a hawk.
And
he's going to walk underneath and make sure that ball ends up with Jeremy Guthrie.
Like it.
So congratulations to Jeremy in his 263rd major league start. Picks up career strikeout number 1,000 and comes back after falling behind in the count to Ike Davis. And this is Max Muncy, A's rookie third baseman. 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. Brett Lawrie gets the day off.
Volquez did it in his 200th start, correct?
Yes. 2 milestones that same night. 200 starts, 1,000 strikeouts. Good changeup by Guthrie. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Max Muncy is out of the A's organization. Drafted 3 years ago in the 5th round. He's drafted him out of Baylor. An appeal and a swing. I don't know. Salvador Perez asked for that appeal.
Where was the pitch? I thought he was going to ring him up. That's right down the middle. Get him out the check, asking him. That ball split the dish. But regardless, Muncy's got to go. Guthrie getting right back into the count after walking Billy.
And after Sal went out there and almost like he was trying to jolt him with some electricity.
Reminding him, look, this is a big start here. We got to have you.
Former teammates here at Stanford, Guthrie and Sam Fuld. And now the crowd is upset with Jim Reynolds. And Fuld is just 3 out of 17 in the big leagues against his former teammate. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Looks like Guthrie's finding some success in being able to command that changeup today.
Two and two. This inning began with Guthrie missing with the first 6 pitches. He walked Billy Butler on 4 straight and then fell behind Davis 2-0. He came back to strike out Davis. Came back to strike out Muncy. And now he strikes out Fuld. Jeremy Guthrie strikes out the side after a leadoff walk. No score at the end of 2.
Great changeup. Perfect location. Jay Guts.
Pitch walk and strikes out the side. And Ned is a surprisingly sentimental guy when it comes to milestones, when it comes to personal achievements, like going to an all-star game. I mean, since Ned has been here, anytime we ask him to promote a player for the all-star game, I mean, he is the go-to guy. Or anytime we ask him to talk about a player reaching a milestone or a personal achievement, he loves talking about that. And I wonder how much that little chat had to do with congratulations for 100 career strikeouts.
I'm sure a lot. And you know, we all change and evolve in this game of baseball, but I've seen a lot of change in Ned in just my 4 years here. And that's a good side of it too.
Reddick makes the play on Rios for the first out. Sunday here in Oakland, California, and you know that Sundays at the K have something for the entire family. Prior to every Sunday home game, Family Fun Day features face painters, balloon artists, an entertaining DJ, and player autographs before the Royals games. And then the fun doesn't stop there, because after the game, kids under 14 can run the bases in the Skippy Fun Run. And if you get in line early, the first 500 kids will get a Skippy t-shirt. I'd like a Skippy t-shirt.
I'd like to.
I used to eat Skippy out of the jar with a spoon.
Big chunks?
Yep.
That's the kind of peanut
I
butter.
was more of a creamy guy.
Okay.
Were you
I like the
chunky?
chunks. Yeah. It's good for you, though.
Think they have a Skippy t-shirt my size?
Yes. I want to run the bases, but I don't match the age limit.
Omar Infante has hit safely in 11 of his last 12 games. He had a double and a run scored yesterday. So the struggles are over for now, and during the 5 games in Seattle and Oakland, he's hit over 300. 4 runs driven in. Three and two.
Chavez using that good cutter. He's got some good life to his pitches. Tries to command the bottom of the zone. Stayed firm with him.
Strikeout number 2. Doesn't throw his fastball very often. Right around 35% of the time.
Loves to mix in that changeup and that cutter. That's a very effective pitch for him. Late movement to the hitter. Has a hard time picking it up.
Well, I guess if you combine the fastball and the cut fastball, it's right around 70%.
Yeah, but a lot of pitchers, they understand that fastball can turn into 3 or 4 different pitches, depending on how you use it.
Gerard Dyson gets a start in center field. His 3rd start on this road trip. Lorenzo Cain got Monday off in Seattle as Dyson singles to right. And then Cain started to feel a little tightness in his hamstring on Wednesday. Dyson started that game, and when Cain had the double steal in the 6th inning yesterday, the hamstring started to tighten up again. So Dyson's on base with 2 down.
I liked how Ned put it when he asked Lorenzo, how is it? He says, I'm good, I'm good. And Ned goes, no, you're not good. You're great. And in order for us to keep you great, we need to keep an eye on that thing. Okay, let's just take it easy. Let Dyson in there.
Outside to Escobar. He grounded out to short to begin the game. Running situation here with the leadoff man at the plate and 2 down.
Okay, there's his quick feet. Got a strong toe over to first base. He'll use a slide step with a runner at first. And he'll mix in a leg lift too. So, you can kind of pick your pitch and go on him. Gerard's 8 out of 9 this year in steals.
And more times than not this year, he has been more of a decoy than a threat to go, which can help the hitter if he's going to get a lot of fastballs. Slicing up the right field line, and that will drop foul.
See that Chavez uses that hold pattern too. He'll hold longer so the guy can't get a good jump. In this case, it's Dyson. Look at Dyson trying to flop that elbow kind of out of the peripheral of the pitcher. Chavez maybe thinking it, trick him into thinking he's going. But you're right, Ryan. That's important when you're at the plate and you're hitting, and a guy like Dyson's on first. You look for that fastball. You can be aggressive. You can be ready to go. Escobar already is aggressive. He winds up and throws it hard over there. If he misses, that's a triple for Dyson. A lot of foul ground here.
Base hit left field. So he got a fastball that was up. And the Royals have 2 on with 2 out.
Here comes that 2-out attack the Royals have been so good at this year. He wants it up, does Vogt. And that's just a cookie right there. He laid it right at the top of the zone. Like Vogt was coming up out of his crouch a little bit, wanting it, that elevated 4-seamer. Didn't get there. Moose 283 with the runner in scoring position. Reddick has a good arm in right field. Sam Fuld in left field. He'll surprise you. He's not a big guy, but he's pretty accurate with his throws.
High with a slider.
But with 2 of Ned's speediest runners on base, a well-placed ball could score them both.
Inside, 2-0. Shortstop Sogard had gone to the bag.
He's really picked up that runners in scoring position average.
Prior to that, it was 194.
Yeah, he was scuffling, but you know, he was so concentrating at the top of his order. Ned's getting on base, setting the table. Had more runs scored than he had knocked in almost.
Well, he should get a pitch here on 3-0. I don't think Chavez wants to face Kendrys Morales with the bases loaded. Fastball up, but in the strike zone, says Jim Reynolds.
Yeah, my scouting reports have on Chavez that he uses that lower part of the strike zone, but today he's trying to keep the ball up, and I'm sure it's on purpose. He knows that the Royals put the ball in play on the ground and they find holes, so maybe he's trying to sneak some cheese by him.
And then that pitch is outside, so they are loaded up for Kendrys Morales, and this all started with 2 outs and nobody on. Morales got the big hit for the Royals yesterday against Scott Kazmir with runners at second and third and 1 out. His single put the Royals in front 3-2, and that was the final score. And here he is now with the bases loaded, 2 down.
Now the Royals, they're due for a slam. They don't have one. Morales 1 for 5 with them loaded up this year. Just any kind of a lousy single would work just to give Guthrie a little bit of a lead to work with. First pitch is usually the best one with him loaded. Morales knows that. He's waiting for one better.
A little tight. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Morales dangerous from both sides, especially the power from the left side. Smart hitter, though. He's not going to try to hit a bomb. If he's going to stay away from him, then he gets the count right. He'll take a shot to left field. Even ahead in the count. He's a smart hitter. Hosmer's on deck.
Up the middle, and that's exactly where the A's are playing. So the shift really paid off there as Morales hit it right up the middle. That's where the A's were lined up, and Chavez works out of a jam in the 3rd. is playing in this series for the first time today. A 15-game hitting streak, which is the second longest active streak in the major leagues. Jason Kipnis of the Indians is still hitting. He has a 20-game hitting streak. Switch hitter Billy Burns, and he has great speed. Scouts, and I've never gotten an answer for this, but scouts will rate players on a 20 to 80 scale. 20 being the lowest, 80 being the highest. So a guy will get a 60 or a 70 for his skills. Billy Burns has gotten an 80 for his speed.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
He can fly.
And Guthrie, you want to throw him fastballs up in the zone so they get caught, you hope.
Well, Dyson, lucky that ball didn't skip by him. He was very shallow in center field. That would have rolled a long way, but he's able to stab it and hold Burns to a single, who now has a 16-game hitting streak.
Yep, so that high pitch, he was hoping that he could get him to fly out. You don't want him to hit the ball on the ground with a guy with that kind of speed. And Dyson just put his glove there just in time. If that ball, you're right, Ryan, if it gets by him, that could have been trouble.
Kendrys Morales among the league leaders of the American League. So apparently Jason Kipnis hasn't stopped hitting since the beginning of May.
Kipnis wants to be an all-star. He's playing like it. Billy Burns, 179 steals in 385 games in the minors. Just been caught 23 times, so he's a burner. Rookie.
Eric Sogard singled to center field in the first inning. Look at that lead.
Salvi's always up for a challenge. And of course, whenever a base stealer is successful, he steals it off the pitcher. But Salvi sure certainly helps back there. Just throwing out right at 30% this year. And he's up for it. Depending on the pitch, will determine who's going to cover second, Escobar or Infante.
One and one on Sogard. Two and one. Sogard just taking pitch after pitch like he's giving Burns the opportunity to run.
That's what he's doing. Good second hole hitters like to hit with two strikes. Give that runner all the time he needs.
Trying to get it through the hole on the right side. Infante with a jump throw to second base to get Burns. Get that speed off the bases and get the lead runner. Sogard is slow to, or Burns rather, is slow to leave second base. And Bob Melvin is out of the A's dugout, and now Melvin goes back into the dugout. So the A's replay coordinator feels like Paul Schreiber, the second base umpire, got it right.
No, excellent play. Now Infante, he wants him, so he's going to do a little pirouette throw, and you never know when that ball's going to come out and how it's going to end up. And Escobar always ready for a bad throw. He's all over the base. He had to work hard for that force out. Little equipment malfunction. Sogard, he'll run. He's 5 for 5 this year. Hadn't been caught yet. Salvi reminding Guthrie to come set.
Outside to Stephen Vogt. Guthrie has struck out 4 already. Vogt was the first strikeout victim. And Stephen Vogt is 0 for 8 in this series. And he really gave the Royals a bad time in Kansas City back in April. And he just hits that foul, and that area was not defended by the Royals.
Vogt, let's see what he was. He's red hot early in April. This series, thankfully, he hasn't been doing much. But, you know, when you hit for a .298 average coming in, you're using the whole field. He's not a dead pull hitter. He almost sliced a double on a third base line.
Good swing, but he fouled it back. 1-2.
Very happy for him that he got hit by Morales in game 1 at the end of the game. It didn't put him out because he's having a tremendous season. And that would have been terrible had he broke a bone in that wrist. So real happy that he's able to continue his season.
Ben fouls it straight back. Stephen Vogt, in addition to being a good hitter, has been quite a sensation for his impersonations of NBA referees, of his former manager in Tampa Bay, Joe Madden. Sogard got a good jump, and Vogt hits it out into left center field. Sogard will be held at third. The throw goes toward third, and that allows Vogt to go to second base.
Yeah, Gerard Dyson wanted to hit Escobar. You've got to hit the cutoff man. No reason why you can't do that. Sogard was not going to score. Nice little run and hit. Dyson gets to it in plenty of time. And he's come up and hit the cutoff man, but there's no one to throw out there. You want to keep that double play in order.
So 2 in scoring position for Ben Zobrist, who's really been swinging the bat well lately. It's a single, by the way, for Vogt. And he goes to second base on the throw.
You know, we talk about the infielders knowing what they're going to do with the ball before it's hit. See, he's slowing down right there, reading the throw. And Gerard Dyson, as an outfielder, you have to think about what you're going to do too if the ball's hit to you. And you got to tell yourself, look, if it's coming to me, I'm going to make sure to keep the double play in order. There's no excuse for that overthrow, although it happens.
Ben Zobrist, over the past 2 weeks, has been hitting about .370. That's hit well into right field. And Rios will make the play. Sogard scores. Vogt goes to third. Ben Zobrist drives in his 29th. And Oakland leads 1-0.
Bob Melvin, he wrote that up perfectly. Little hit and run. Actually, it was a run and hit. 2 strikes on Vogt. He's able to place it just nicely, and then the overthrow there by Dyson. That's an off-speed pitch. You know, Zobrist uses his hands so well. You could see his stride was already out there. He was full, but he's able to keep his hands back and get up underneath that ball and get it airborne. That's all he needed.
Now Josh Reddick with Vogt at third base, 2 down. He grounded sharply to Infante in the first inning. The Royals so far have pitched Vogt and Reddick very well, and they have combined to hit 23 home runs this year. Reddick is just 1 for 9 in the series. And got him to chase a pitch out of the strike zone there. He almost nailed the A's bat boy. Stephen Vogt without an RBI in the series, and he leads the league with 53. Reddick is without an RBI in the series, and he has 45. Still 1-2.
Guthrie with that inside fastball's got him set up for the changeup away here.
Slider down and in on him. And he did. Wow.
Good call. Oof. We saw Sam Fold take one off his ankle bone in this series. We'll see where that got it. Looked like it was around the same area. Ooh, man.
He was airborne when he swung at that pitch.
He looked like Nori Aoki, one of his swings. Schinberger is going to hurt.
Went down like Nori. Although Nori got hit on the leg the other day and broke his leg.
Yeah.
And disabled this for a while.
I wonder if it was on a ball like that, because that could do it easily. I mean, he had no business swinging at this pitch. I think he was fooled. He was looking out over the plate for something, and sometimes that little heartbreaking breaking ball coming down and in like that will get you to swing at it. And I bet he wishes he hadn't swung at that pitch. That was a ball. It looked like it was below the knee.
It was like a guy on a hit and run, doing whatever he could to make contact.
I can't believe he swung at it. And he's not up yet. He's in trouble.
And while they work on Reddick, the A's yesterday after the game, they had their annual Faith and Family Day. The Royals Faith and Family Day is on Saturday, July 11th, presented by Hobby Lobby. That's the Royals and the Toronto Blue Jays. And your ticket to the game includes admission to the post-game program, which will feature music from contemporary Christian band New Song, a message from select Royals players and executives, and testimony from Scott Dawson of Safe at Home. Royals.com/faith for more information. So Reddick is going to hang in there with a throbbing leg, I'm sure. Think Salvi's going to put that 3 down for a slider down and in again?
I don't know, but I can.
He sure did.
Yeah, I guarantee you he'll have a shin guard next time he comes up.
Popped up. And it drops. Alex Gordon didn't see it. Alcides Escobar didn't see it. And so the missed cutoff man leads to a second run. And the A's lead 2-0.
Escobar, he peeled off of it. Looked like he heard Alex yelling for it, but he looked like he was going to catch it. Alex, but see, the one thing that Escobar didn't do is put his right hand up in the air and signal that I have it all the way. He didn't do that. So Alex, he figured Escobar was going to catch it, but that's an easier play coming in for the left fielder, and Alex knows that.
If you can see it.
Yeah, it's very difficult. We talked about that before the game. In Goldberg's pregame show, we talked about how difficult it can be, especially in this ballpark. It seems like the sun is right on top of the stadium at this time of day.
I mean, it looks bad, grown men who can't catch a little pop-up, but you can't catch what you can't see.
Right.
And this is probably the most difficult left field in the major leagues. And both guys have sunglasses on. They have everything you need to find the ball on or near the sun. Fouled away by Billy. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, that'll help a little bit if those high, thin clouds are filtering the sun. But on that particular fly ball, the sun was not filtered by the clouds, and both Escobar and Gord looking up into bright sunlight. That'll put an end to the inning as Butler grounds out sharply, but the Oakland A's get 2 on RBIs from Zobrist and Reddick.
Steve Coons talking with Gerard Dyson about that. Let's take a look at our Mazda game break. James McCann has 3 big league home runs. 2 of them are of the walk-off variety, as the Tigers, now 26-14 in the American League Central, they beat the White Sox. Speaking of Rusty Kuntz, and you guys have talked so much about how tough it is, ball in the sun here, we've also discussed the amount of foul ground. And Rusty being Rusty, he already had this for me. He said that from the coaching box, first base coach's box, missed bunt attempt there by Hosmer, first base coach's box to the dugout at Kauffman Stadium is 9 steps. Here, from the coach's box to the dugout, it is 22 steps. And then he measured it out for me. He said it would be about 20 steps to the dugout suite from first base to the first base dugout suite at Kauffman Stadium. Here, if you're going all the way down foul territory to the crowd, another 16, so a mere 36 steps of your chasing a foul ball all the way down the line. A little bit of work to be done and some wind sprints for some of those guys. We saw that with Mike Moustakas the other night.
And when you talk to A's pitching coach Kurt Young, who was a one-time Royal, about the A's ability to develop pitchers, they always seem to have some good young pitchers coming up from their system and always seem to be among the league leaders in team ERA. He'll be the first to point out, well, this is also a good ballpark to pitch in. So the ballpark takes some of the credit. Now, on a day like today, as we pointed out yesterday, the ball's going to carry more, but at night, that heavy marine air comes in over the ballpark. The ball does not carry. What would Wade Boggs' career have been like if he played here and not Fenway? Reddick makes a play in right field. Still would have been a very good hitter, but he used to hit those little pop-ups into the crowd at Fenway Park, and the foul ground is right off the line, and there would have been a lot more outs here.
No, it'd have taken him longer to get 3,000 hits.
The last MLB/NFL multi-purpose stadium left.
Yeah, you see those boxes, the third base coach box, first base coach box, and rarely do you ever see a coach standing in them. And I was talking with Rusty about that. He said it's more an aesthetic look for the ballpark to have those in. He goes, we don't need coaches' boxes. No umpire is ever enforcing, hey, get in the box.
These are big too. I mean, you could play a tennis match. You could play doubles tennis inside the coaches' boxes here.
That's right. And you know, another thing is the reaction time. Rusty's getting close to 60, and he said that I have to back up. I don't have time to get out of the way of those line shots that are coming down here. Jershely the same way. He's way down the line.
Royals have been so good this year at answering their opponent. 1-2 on Alex Gordon. They did it again yesterday. Oakland scored a run in the bottom of the 5th to take a 2-1 lead. The Royals came right back and got 2 in the 6th. Now they're trying to answer the A's here in the 4th. But Jesse Chavez had another idea. 3 up, 3 down with 2 strikeouts. Chavez has 4, and Oakland leads 2-0. Avoid the lines. Order online with rapid pickup at delivery.panerabread.com. By Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by Ram, come discover great deals during the Ram Drive and Discover event. The most crooked street in the United States. Lombard Street, San Francisco. Our associate producer Dave Holtzman lost his mind on Thursday and ran up Lombard Street, and shockingly has been sore ever since. Ooh, that foul ball hit Max Muncy. Breaking ball stayed up, but Davis didn't square it up, and Rios makes the play on the foul side of the line, according to first base umpire Manny Gonzalez. Davis is 0 for 2. Well, the deadline for the All-Star voting is coming up on July 2nd. That's a Thursday, and on Wednesday, the Royals are going to have a watch party presented by 610 Sports Radio in the Power and Light District at McFadden's. The Royals K crew will be on hand with tablets to help fans vote for the Royals as they watch the Royals and the Astros. That'll be the final game of this road trip. You can enjoy great food, beverages, and Royals giveaways throughout the evening. The watch party begins at 6:30 on Wednesday at McFadden's.
That'll be the final day of voting, man. We've got to get our guys in there. They're already in, but let's make sure they get in.
Max Muncy struck out swinging at a changeup in the second inning. Guthrie has struck out 4, and he struck out those 4 in the first 2 innings. 2 balls and 1 strike. Guthrie could use an easy inning. This is going to be his 70th pitch. And it's chopped out to Infante. That ball flattened out on him as it hit the lip of the grass. And Muncy is the second out. Guthrie allowed 2 singles in the first inning, a leadoff walk in the second. He ended up striking out the side, but that'll tax your pitch count, and then used 26 pitches as the A's scored 2 in the third. So he could use a quick one right here. Sam Fuld and Jeremy Guthrie were at Stanford in 2001, 2002. At least at the same time, Fuld played through 2004 at Stanford. Bragging rights right now belong to Guthrie, as Fuld is 3 for 18.
Guthrie's shaking his head. Maybe he's not pleased with the location of the command, or could be upset at the home plate umpire Jim Reynolds. You know, Chavez hasn't been happy with him. He's run the state up.
Base hit comes with 2 outs. So Fuld is 4 out of 19 against Guthrie.
Now batting center fielder, number 1.
All stayed up. Tell you that it is so bright down there on that field that if you're a hitter and you're comfortable with wearing sunglasses up there, it sure does take away the squinting and the extra energy that you use to squint to try to pick up the ball. But I remember how bright that is on that field, and the dirt. Some dirt in clay is red, or it's a little bit darker. This is a light infield, so it even reflects that sun to make it even brighter. I remember getting done with games here and having a headache after the game from squinting so much.
Slash foul by Burns. He is 1 for 2, extending his hitting streak to 16 games.
Guthrie, he's been trying to get the high fastball by him. He did in his first at bat. He flew out to the center fielder. Then the next time up, he got a base hit to center with a pitch up.
On Billy Burns out of the Washington Nationals system. Nationals really wanted him. They drafted him twice. 1 year out of junior college. Burns passed and went back to junior college. The Nationals drafted him again and then was traded to the A's for reliever Jerry Blevins. Infante throws him out. Guthrie faces 4 in the bottom of the 4th inning. To be admired and driven down, not to be run up. Lombard Street in San Francisco. bullpen. Lowest ERA in a 2-year span. Wade Davis 0.78 the last 2 years. Dennis Eckersley 1.03 behind him. A couple of great years here in Oakland. Wade Davis, our most trusted player, brought to you by the most trusted brand, Honda.
Pretty impressive what this young man does and what he has done. See him his last couple outings get himself into a little bit of trouble, but he has the skill and the ability to slow the game down and get himself right back out of it.
Even when you're as physically gifted as Wade Davis is and as dominant as he's been, that was still very impressive what he accomplished yesterday against the A's. Back-to-back walks in a 1-run game. 3-0 to Stephen Vogt, who leads the league in RBIs. Comes back to strike him out and then gets a double play from Ben Zobrist, who is hitting about 370 over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, started by Wade Davis. Made a low throw, but Escobar handled it and got him out of the inning. Unbelievable.
Second time that Rios has flied out to Reddick in right field. One down in the 5th inning. Extraordinary moments happen every day in baseball, but on one night they all happen in one place. Don't miss the 86th All-Star Game. Coverage begins at 6 Central, Tuesday, July 14th on Fox. Now, I'll admit I felt a little better when Davis threw his first strike to Stephen Vogt. But Ned Yost was saying that as soon as Davis threw his first strike to Vogt, which made the count 3-1, he said he sat back on the bench and knew the inning was over. And he ended up being right.
It's the kind of confidence he has in his guys. And if they don't get out of it, it's like it's no big deal. We'll get him tomorrow. It's been so good.
Infante was a strikeout victim of Chavez in the 3rd inning. Jesse Chavez has struck out 4.
Chavez is aggressive. They're having a hard time picking up his pitches. He comes out of that windup extremely quick. Little 3/4 arm slot, and there's a lot of movement. And he's doing it with mainly fastballs, changeups.
Two and two.
This is Jesse's 12th start on the season, and 8 out of those 11 coming in. He only got 2 or fewer runs of support. They haven't been supporting him at all. But he's been dealing.
A lot of routine fly balls today. And Zobrist had to deal with the glare, but he's able to make the play for the 2nd out. And now Dyson, Gerard singled with 2 outs in the 3rd inning. That was the Royals' only inning with a base runner, and they ended up with 3 with 2 outs and nobody on. Dyson singled, Escobar singled, Moustakas walked, setting the stage for Kendrys Morales, who grounded sharply right up the middle, but the A's were positioned up the middle.
Dyson wanting to see if the rookie Max Muncy can field a bunt at 3rd. It's not a bad idea. With Dyson's speed, he doesn't have to be perfect. He just wants to get it down. The fielder has to be perfect to get Dyson with his speed out of the left side of the box.
Gerard Dyson is 2 for 2. Let's see if the Royals can do it again. Mount a rally after there were 2 outs and nobody on.
Now batting, number 2, Alcides.
High fastball, perfect pitch to handle. Stayed on top well. Did not attempt to steal last time he was out there with 2 outs. Same situation.
Escobar has hit safely in 6 straight games, and he has 10 hits on this trip. This is the 6th game.
See if Escobar can hit his 14th double. Likely would score Dyson.
Popped up.
Not going to work.
Inning over. Jesse Chavez has pitched 5 scoreless innings, and Oakland leads 2-0.
R&R, and here to see his Royals. 18 years in the Navy, deputy commander for a submarine squadron 2-1 out of Bahrain, and he's in town to see the Royals. He's going to go back home to, right now his home is in Connecticut, and then head back over to Bahrain on July 7th. Guys, he told me today that he was up at 4 in the morning watching the end of the World Series before going to work that day. And he presented us with these coins here, these unit emblem coins.
Beautiful.
And always cool to see that stuff and to know that so many around the world are watching these broadcasts. And when we get a chance to hear that it's Royals fans, even better. He loves his Royals.
Well, thanks for these, Joel.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I've got a nice collection of these from
The catcher.
caravans. You know, we were able to go to a military base,
Right.
and they give us these coins which detail the arm of the armed forces, that particular unit. Swift. How about this for a military unit? Swift, silent, strong.
Yeah, it says Swift, Silent, Strong. It's got a picture of a submarine on there, and then it says Commander Task Force Japan, Bahrain. And then on the back it says always ready, never seen.
Stealth.
Thank you, Joel.
Yeah, appreciate that. And thank you for your support, sir. Your service.
Thank the commander for us.
That's right.
Neil Colston.
Thank you, Neil.
Wanted to reach out and make sure you guys got those.
And all the others that might be listening that protect us. Thank you.
Stephen Vogt finally helped produce a run in this series when he scored in the 3rd inning. That's over Hosmer and up the line, but Rios is there, and Vogt holds with a single. Almost hit it, or excuse me, Kendrys Morales at first base, and almost hit it into a covey of Royals relievers. Starting to loosen up down in the bullpen area.
He did. Now, Morales may not have Hosmer's hops, that's for sure. But a good effort here. Look at him. He's ready position, ready to react. Oh. Maybe not one of his strong suits. Jumping up, but I thought it was respectable.
I thought he did all those things really well.
He does. I mean, he's pretty good for a guy who's got 3 screws in his ankle. He almost busted his leg. Or he did break his leg. A home plate celebration several years ago, so he moves well for what has happened to him. So we got to give
in the A's bullpen.
Let's take a look at Morales' jump. Let's see how high. That's
right.
That's more than I can get up. Now let's show you the injury. It's the first time all year we've shown this to you. Walk-off
Grand Slam.
Right, now look at all of his buddies. He jumps, and that was it. Terrible accident.
Broken ankle.
I mean, broke it. I mean, it was sad. All of his teammates, they didn't know what to do. They see him, he's hurt. They want to celebrate with him, and now they're trying to pick him up, and he's saying, "Don't do it, don't do it." 3 screws, I believe, they put into his ankle.
Look, they're still smiling. They still don't understand what had happened to him. That is line to right, and Rios will make the play.
And after that happened, Mike Scioscia said, no more of those at the plate. Okay, we can't afford to lose anybody, especially on something like that. So they would let the runner come and touch home plate, and then they would celebrate. But he allows no jumping or any of that.
You know, it's one thing to get injured, hurting your hamstring, trying to beat out a ground ball or running down a ball in the outfield, or maybe injuring a knee, crashing into the wall. But I wonder how many times Kendrys just stared at the ceiling at night and just wished he could have a do-over. I mean, the hard work had been done. He hit a walk-off grand slam. He had become one of the elite hitters in the American League. And to have it happen like that, I mean, the mental anguish that must have come with that.
Yeah, and it took him a long time to get back.
Up the middle, Infante will flip to Escobar, and that is the inning. 5 innings for Guthrie. He's given up 2 runs, and now the Royals got to figure out Jesse Chavez down 2-0 to the 6th. Our Toyota League leaders. Best road records since the beginning of last year. And the Royals are on top of that list. They have the second best road record in the American League this year. Only Tampa Bay has played better on the road. And last year, the Royals had the best record on the road in the American League, second best in baseball.
They're a consistent team, and they play championship caliber baseball with their pitching and defense. They're hitting, they're averaging just a little bit over 4 runs during the last few weeks here. They've been hot 1 through 9 in that order. They've all been putting it together, but they're having a hard time this afternoon against Jesse Chavez.
One and one to Moustakas, who leads off our Sonic Slam inning. Our contestant is Nicole Steffen from Sugar Creek, Missouri. The Royals hit a home run in this inning. That's worth $200. If the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Nicole wins $25,000 from Sonic and the Kansas City Royals. Two and two on Moustakas. Vote for the Royals Player of the Month at rallyhouse.com, and you'll be entered to win a majestic prize pack from Rally House.
And Josh Donaldson, Toronto's third baseman, he's closing in on Moose, trying to take that spot. Speaking of spots, that's a perfect spot.
And it's bobbled out there and will allow Moustakas to go to second base.
Vote Moose in, folks. Come on. Nice touch there. Took advantage of the bobble. Running hard out of the box, you never know. And he's into second base. Stayed with it. Nice. Another changeup now. Chavez using a lot of those. He'll throw those in any situation at any time. And third time through now, they're starting to pick him up. Look at that. Never even hesitated. What you want to do, you make that turn, make the outfielder stop you, but you're going hard all the way until he stops you. And if he didn't stop you, he bobbles, and you're already in full motion.
Biggest out so far today for Chavez was against Kendrys Morales in the third inning. The Royals, with 2 outs, put together 2 singles and a walk, and Morales, with a 10-game hitting streak, came to the plate with the bases loaded and grounded out to short. And there's a base hit into right field. Mike Jershely is going to hold Moustakas. Reddick has a good arm and got it back quickly. And the Royals have runners at first and third and nobody out.
And Moose didn't get a good break on that read by Morales just hit. He kind of hesitated a little bit there at second base, but with nobody out, you want to be sure. Watch Moose, top of your screen there. He kind of just froze up a little bit, didn't get doubled up.
Kurt Young, A's pitching coach, out to chat with Chavez. And this is the Royals' third time through the order, so it's not a huge number, but it's the best number. 284.
Got to get that run home. Just put the ball in play.
Aggressive swing at a fastball, 90 miles an hour. Hosmer has grounded to first and struck out against Chavez.
See that? Got some good movement on that pitch. Good little two-seam action. He's going to cut that ball in a tad and then use the changeups. Changeups. Good time for Hosmer to think about the opposite field here. They're trying to pitch him away.
1-2.
Big chance for Hosmer, especially with Salvi coming up next, who's grounded into 11 double plays. pick up that run here.
Two and two.
It's a fine line there. You're taking a pitch inside like that with 2 strikes with a 2-seam movement. He didn't get it, just off the plate.
Try and pitch him a fastball in, tie him up. And it's high and inside. 3 and 2.
After those last 2 fastballs, wouldn't be surprised if he changed up on him here.
Hosmer trying to slow down Chavez. Wastes a good pitch by Chavez to stay alive. Out into center field, not deep, and caught by Burns.
Gershly told Moustakas to go halfway. Casey drops it. Didn't want to take a chance. Just 1 out now. With Salvi coming up, you would hope that he would try to stay inside the ball coming up here and not roll over.
Salvador Perez.
Salvador has flied to center and flied to right. Pulls it on the ground to third. The play is to the plate. The throw is high and Vogt can't hang on to it. And now the other runners will move up.
Max Muncy throwing on the run, took a shot at it, but lots of times when you're making a throw on the run, you're going to throw that ball high just like he did. It's hard. Get your balance, aim it just properly when you're on the dead run. Had time to get his feet underneath it. Moose coming on contact. Muncy had plenty of time to set his feet and throw and make sure that they got the out at home.
Now batting, number 4, Alex Gordon.
And now the A's will put Alex Gordon on, and Jesse Chavez, he'll throw it up there at 90 miles an hour on an intentional walk. He might still be angry that they didn't get an out at the plate.
Could be, but if he lets that get to him, he's in trouble. 99 pitches. This could be it for him.
Fernando Rodriguez is ready in the bullpen. Alex Rios will be the Royals' next hitter. It is a fielder's choice, error 5 on the Perez play. The error also allowing Morales to go to third, Perez to go to second, and now the bases are loaded for Alex Rios.
Second time this afternoon they've had him loaded up. Couldn't come away with one the first time. Rios struggling badly. He's got to find a way to get in there. His bat's been lagging behind. He's trying to take some shots to right, and that's how you get your swing right, is to shorten up that stroke and get it there, but he's just been underneath the ball and he's flying out there.
One and one.
A tendency for a struggling hitter is to try to pull a lot, and you can see he's pulling off. His shoulder's coming off of it, and it's leaving his bat head behind. That's some pretty nice numbers there in his career.
Good changeup. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Right here is where you just shorten up your swing now. Shorten it up, try to put the ball in play, and beat out that double play. You hit it on the ground. Shorten it up, put it in play.
2-2. That's where you want Chavez to be pitching Rios in. The pitches away he's having a bad time with.
He'll get you in there. Rios can get you if he makes a mistake in there.
In the air to center field, and that will tie the game. So Rios gets it deep enough to get Morales down the line. Perez goes to third, and the Royals get 2 in the 6th inning.
Vogt, the catcher, he wanted that pitch way inside. And on the 106th pitch, he made a mistake and left it straight out over the plate for Rios. Perfect job by Rios to get that job done. Off the end of his bat, but still out over the plate enough to get the sack in there.
So if the A's get the out at the plate, that would have ended the inning. Fonte had a good swing and fouled it back. Rios drives in his 11th. Chavez at 107 pitches. His season high is 110. Infante goes the other way. It's a 3-run 6th inning. And Omar Infante has now hit safely in 12 of his last 13. And the Royals jump all over that air, which has been a huge problem for the Oakland A's. And the Royals lead 3-2. And Jesse Chavez, who started today with 5 scoreless innings, giving up just 3 singles and a walk, will depart down 3-2.
It's a big hang with him. Royals balanced attack at it again. Rios, nice job with the sac fly, and Infante, he's the right man, the right spot with a .298 average with runners in scoring position, came through to send Chavez to the showers.
His cap flattened out on the top. I mean, he was on his way to a victory, and the A's defense once again lets them down.
At least he's got his head up. I like that.
Remember to follow live Royals baseball with MLB.com on your smartphone or tablet. Wherever you are, stay connected to the Royals with the MLB.TV game of the day, in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, and more. Fernando Rodriguez to Gerard Dyson. Dyson has 2 singles. Jesse Chavez should have gotten out of this inning, allowing no runs. One and one on Dyson. Against Chavez, he singled to right and singled to center. Second appearance for Fernando Rodriguez in this series. He pitched an inning and 2/3 scoreless on Friday night.
Fastball, slider, curve. There it is there. Nice one. Yeah, you mentioned a couple of nights ago we got in here. You couldn't understand why they were losing when their numbers, their pitching numbers are good. They were hitting good coming in, but it's the errors. It's those unearned runs that they're forcing these pitchers. The more pitches they're throwing there, that's breaking them. Really hurting them. And he was able to escape that bases loaded jam he had in the third inning, but he couldn't get out of that one. Royals a little bit too much. And we've seen that on the road trip. Remember in Seattle, Roenis Elias, 3 perfect games, and then all of a sudden that 4th inning they dropped a 7 spot on him. So the frenzy hitting attack worked again here to get the starter out of the game and get into that pin to win. Dyson's been all over the ball. He's Voigt's throwing him all them curveballs now. He knows that he can hit that fastball today. Got one there and just got up under it.
That's really saying something for Dyson because he hasn't been playing a whole lot. So to go 12 for 23 with, now he has had 3 starts on this road trip, but prior to that, Ned Yost is having a tough time getting him in the lineup, but he's been able to stay sharp offensively.
Extremely impressive. The way he's doing it. You know, he's not bunting. He's hitting his way on. He's been really finding his swing, and he's doing that because he's staying level with his stroke. He's not trying to do too much. He's trying to stay on the top of the ball, but he's squaring it up. It's really hard for timing when you're playing once, twice a week. Very hard.
Runners go, and Dyson hits it up the middle, but Sogard is there, and that is the inning. Royals come up with 3. It started with a Mike Moustakas double. The air opened up the inning. The Royals jumped all over that and scored 3. Pitching to Billy Butler, Ike Davis, and Max Muncy in the bottom of the 6th inning. He has Franklin Morales warming up behind him. The official scoring on the Royals' 3-run 6th inning is that they are all 3 earned runs, because you can't assume that a major league third baseman can make an accurate 60-foot throw to home plate.
Well, that's too bad for Chavez. His defense let him down. That's an unusual statistic. Billy Butler up there, he wanted to do something on his day where they gave out those breakfast.
You cannot, HUD, don't ever, 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 ever assume that a major leaguer can make a throw to home plate. Ever.
He sets his feet and throws a nice easy ball that he could handle. Vote. He's out. But he felt like he had to rush the throw. It was Moustakas running.
Fouled away by Billy. If that play is made and Moustakas is out, that's out number 2 in the inning. And then 2 batters later, Alex Rios, his sac fly would have been the final out. But because there was only 1 out, it drove in a run, setting the stage for Omar Infante, who put the Royals in front. Strike 3 called. Billy is not happy with Jim Reynolds. And a tough go for Billy lately. 0 for 2 today, 0 for his last 15, and now 1 for his last 21.
Ouch. Guy was using that for a glove. He wanted to catch that fly ball with
it on his head too. Did you see that?
Yeah, with the Billy Bowl.
Go get a haircut.
That's right. That little two-seaming action from Guthrie caught that outside part of the plate.
And then a slow breaking ball. Ike Davis is out in front. Guthrie struck him out for the first out of the second inning, and that was Jeremy Guthrie's 1,000th career strikeout. Well, the pitch started with Salvador having a mask on his face.
One of the things that's helped Salvi a lot with those foul tips is that he went back to the conventional old-style catcher's mask. That hit him squarely. And the old-style catching masks have steel bars. Okay, it's going to absorb most of the blow. No more of those titanium, lightweight metal bars that protect his face mask, because he was taking too much of the blow. It's light on his head, and catchers like it light, but it's more about protection. So he's got those steel bars on there to help him absorb those foul tips.
Guthrie with a curveball for his 6th strikeout.
Boy, beautiful work. I mean, Guthrie, he's following Salvi to a T now that he's got the lead. Salvi's pointing to the ground. He's saying, I want it on the ground. Good spot. I mean, that is perfect. Right underneath the bat of Ike Davis.
Poor Max Muncy. This won't be the first tough day he'll have in the big leagues if he's around for a while, but we just had a fan below us just scream down to the field, "You owe us. You owe us 3 runs." That's coming from his own fans.
Well, they're a little hostile here. They're not thrilled with all the Royals fans in the stands, number 1, and number 2. They're tired of getting pounded by the boys in royal blue.
2-1 on Muncy. As much as this game will humble a player, I got to think, HUD, that that's a feeling that Muncy had as the Royals were scoring runs that you never really get used to.
It's terrible when you're out there on defense after you misplayed a ball. It's bugging you. You're hoping like heck that they don't score any runs.
Curveball strikes him out looking. A season high 7 strikeouts for Jeremy Guthrie. And his first 1-2-3 inning comes right after the Royals give him the lead.
Guthrie doing exactly what Island wanted him to do. Get him 1-2-3. And Muncy, you got to go. Jay Guts pitching strong.
Visit your MidwestFordDealers.com. And by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price every day. Beautiful Golden Gate Bridge. Jeremy Guthrie, after working around several base runners in the first 3 innings, steadied over the last 3 and finishes his outing. Maybe not. He is well over 100 pitches by striking out the side in the 6th inning and finishing with a season high 7 strikeouts.
Strong.
Crack bat. Muncy makes a diving play.
Whoa.
Throws high, but Davis saves him. 1 down in the 7th inning.
Well, he attacked that ball like it was his lunch, and he was starving. He knows he's got to do something, and why not rob another player of a hit? Because that would have been a knock, I'm sure. Escobar might have beat that out. You know, Jeremy Guthrie, he's given up some home runs this year, 12, 10 to left-handed bats, and when he keeps the ball in the yard and doesn't give up a homer, Guthrie's 23-11. When he gives up a homer, he's 15-20. So big difference for Guthrie. Good job of keeping him off balance, keeping his ball down, and staying with Salvi. Salvi's been leading him as he leads all these guys.
Fouled away by Moustakas. He got that 3-run inning started with a double to right center field. The A's have some lefties coming up. Sam Fuld, then a switch hitter Billy Burns, a lefty Eric Sogard, a lefty Stephen Vogt. So Franklin Morales with Kelvin Herrera having pitched the first 2 games of the series will get the first crack at the bottom of the 7th. Two and 2 on Moustakas. Still 2 and 2. To left field for Sam Fuld, and there are 2 down. Kendrys Morales was a big out for Jesse Chavez in the 3rd inning, grounding out with the bases loaded. He extended his hitting streak to 11 games in the Royals' 3-run 6th with a single to right field and scored 1 of the 3 runs. Big curveball is a little bit inside for ball 1.
Yeah, really has some huge depth to that pitch.
Two and 0.
That high fastball and that big curve come out of the same arm slot and plane, and when it's head high and you can pick up the rotation, it's a hittable pitch. So that big curve, he's going to come back with a heater.
And that's hit well to left field. Sam Fuld is at the track and he makes a play. Morales hit a ball just like that in game 1 for a home run. Good day for Jeremy Guthrie, and now the game is in the hands of the bullpen.
and Jeff Samardzija was cruising through 7 shutout innings and then falls apart in the 8th. Tigers win that one. And the guys say, oh, darn. Baltimore shuts out Cleveland, Ubaldo Jimenez against his former team. Indians 7 games under 500. Milwaukee, Ryan Braun leading the way over Minnesota 5-3, so that's great news for the Royals. And Houston beats New York 3-1. Should be a lot of fun the next few days with the teams with the 2 best records in the American League. How things have changed, Astros and Royals.
Well, we're all curious to see how the Astros have been doing it. And I'm sure they want to prove that what they have done so far has not been a fluke. Taking on the team with the best record in the American League.
Should be exciting. But nothing's better than what we got going right here. They can bullpen to win. Guthrie, strong outing, get the sweep. Morales, good fastball slider.
Hit hard right to Escobar, who fumbles but recovers quickly and gets fouled. 1 away. Jeremy Guthrie allowed 7 hits today, and 6 of those came in the first 4 innings, and then really steadied himself over the last 2.
Yeah, look where all these pitches are. Down below the knees. Executing just like Salvi wanted him to. Staying on the game plan. Good curves. All down. Now that one was up, but still it fooled him. Guthrie had great command today. Only 1 walk. Kept the ball in the yard. Fantastic.
Actually, 5 of those hits came in the first 3 innings. That ball came up and got Escobar on the finger when it took that tricky hop on him.
Must have. Yeah, that happens, you know. Sometimes it happens in infield practice and other times in a game, but you know, you get that ball sometimes will hit that index finger or even the middle finger at times, and it'll peel the nail back a little bit. You know, it gets a little bloody, but you know, I think he should be okay. Tough guy, Escobar. The day after Laurie slid into him, he was down the right field line at the K trying to talk athletic trainer into staying in and playing that night. And we were like, what? Take a couple days off, Esky. You almost ruined your season, and he wanted to play again. He's got a little tissue, Nick Kinney, taking care of him like he does everybody.
Remember, it was a ground ball like that got Christian Colon late in the year last year. Fractured his finger. Oh. One down to Billy Burns, a switch hitter. 1 for 3 today to give him a 16-game hitting streak. That's hit well to left field. Alex was shallow, and it's over his head, and Burns can really run. He'll check in with a double.
Alex froze on contact, and sometimes when you're an outfielder and you're trying to get a read on a line shot right at you, it's the toughest one to judge. That's too late. You see, he froze, and then he turned while the ball was in mid-flight, just couldn't quite get the angle on it that he wanted.
Playing in the toughest sun left field in the game. Eric Sogard, a left-hand batter, was the scheduled hitter, and Franklin Morales has been very good lately against left-hand batters, so Bob Melvin sees an opportunity here, and we'll have the right-hand hitting Marcus Semien hit for Sogard. A's regular shortstop who had the day off, and Morales almost hit him on the foot. Well, he's good against both. Very good against righties. He had struggled early in the year against lefties, so 222 overall, but much better than that over the past 2 weeks. And now 2 balls and no strikes.
Semien 2 for 3 as a pinch hitter off Melvin's bench.
And now the ball gets away from Sal. So the tying run is at third base with 1 out.
Morales all of a sudden experiencing some wildness. Let that shoulder fly open a little on that one. Billy Burns, you know, he's not exactly 100% healthy. Laid out the first 2 games of this season. Infield in.
Strike, making it 3-1. Three and 2. No sign of Kelvin Herrera, who pitched in the game on Friday night and pitched very well. Madsen pitched the 7th inning yesterday, and it's Madsen warming up right now. Semien grounds it to Moustakas with the infield in. Out at first base. Burns holds at third. And Marcus Semien is 0 for his last 14.
Morales, an excellent job of getting back into that count.
Now batting.
After the wild pitch, moving Burns over, he settled down. He threw that fastball. He just challenged it basically. And that's what you do. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but he won that time.
Morales hit Stephen Vogt with a pitch in the game on Friday night. Oh, and 2. So he showed you Morales 222 against lefties all year, but 0.94 in his last 16 outings.
He's coming right after him. He's challenging him.
Nice scoop by Kendrys Morales, and that is the inning. The A's get a 1-out double. They had the tying run at third with 1 out. But Morales gets a couple of ground balls, and the Royals hang on to the lead headed to the 8th inning.
Morales to Morales. Nice play. Moustakas, a harmless little base hit. Morales, he'll take 1-2, and then there'll be some aggressive base running by Moose. Salvi chipped in there, and Infante, right man in the right spot to knock in the go-ahead run. Jesse Chavez not happy, and he shouldn't be. He pitched a heck of a game. His defense let him down. Guthrie, the same. Solid job, and Morales took over and got out of that dicey inning there. So 3-2, Edward Mojica is going to get the ball.
And Lorenzo Cain is going to bat for Eric Hosmer. And we told you in the first inning that Hosmer was going to play first base today, but he tweaked a finger on a slide in the game yesterday. And shortly before the game, Hosmer moved to the DH, Kendrys Morales to first base, and now Hosmer going 0 for 3 today, and Lorenzo Cain, who's resting a tight hamstring, comes off the bench. And while he hits in the DH spot, Cain will not have to go out and play defense, and he'll be careful as he runs the bases.
Sure hope he doesn't hit a close one on the infield. You have to run that ball out and lunge at first. And you want to stay away from any kind of nagging hamstring, that's for sure. First time this year he's pinch hit. Mojica, not overpowering. He might go 88 to 93, slider, split finger changeup combination.
Ooh.
And backed Cain off a little. The chin music. Simeon stays in at short.
Full count. Mojica, just 2 years ago, had 37 saves for the Cardinals. In a season where St. Louis went to the World Series. Grounded up the middle. Here's that play we were talking about, but it gets through, so Cain doesn't have to go 100%. And he's on with a leadoff single.
Lorenzo got himself a pinch hit. Take it right up the middle. Mojica challenged him. He cued it. Didn't really barrel it, but he perfect eyes on that ball. I mean, that's a perfect roller right over the second base bag. That extra insurance run sure would mean a lot to the back end of that bullpen that's out there getting loose. It looks like Herrera's getting loose. Salvi can do it. One swing, one mistake. He's got some pop.
So somebody's getting the day off. We thought maybe it was Herrera because Morales got the 7th inning. That's Kelvin's inning. But now Herrera's getting ready for the 8th, which doesn't necessarily mean that Wade Davis is going to get the game off. Davis could pitch the 9th, and Greg Holland gets the day off. But Ned Yost isn't going with his normal 7th, 8th, and 9th inning combination.
You know, I'm sure Lorenzo Cain was able to get his legs loose, even though the foul ground here, there's plenty of room to run. Most players don't get loose outside, but there's stairs that go up to the locker rooms, and you can go up and down those stairs and get yourself good and loose.
3-0 to Salvi. Who has walked a grand total of 4 times this year. Three and 1.
Bet he's swinging here. He wants to drive in Lorenzo Cain from first.
3-2.
.260 at bats coming into this game. Actually 251 and just 4 walks. That's amazing. He is some kind of swinger.
Blasted to left field. You are right. He is some kind of a swinger. Salvador Perez hits a 2-run home run in the 8th inning, and the Royals lead 5-2.
You want insurance? You got it. Courtesy of Sal. Popping one out of the yard is 12th and 32nd ribbies. Oh. Who wants to walk when you can do this? Mujica, second consecutive hitter, laid a cookie in there. Kane got the single. Salvi got the insurance. Beautiful shot. And here come the Royals fans with their chant.
Royals were down 2-0 and had very little to offer as far as an answer for Jesse Chavez. But that third time through the order started to figure him out. He got some hits. They got the help of the Max Muncy error, and now they have scored 5 unanswered runs, inching closer to a 5.5 game lead in the division. Up into that bright sky. Semien, the shortstop, will bring it down for the out.
Well, this is what you do after you've already gotten the series in the first 2 games. You try to step on their neck the third and final game, and that's what they're doing. 4 of those 12 home runs this year, 8th inning or later. That's clutch. Written all over him. Both sides of the ball, this guy makes a difference. What a player.
Going to say that Rios swung at that pitch. Rios, boy, it's a shame he got injured when he did, because he was really swinging the bat well. Just hasn't been able to get on a extended hot streak, doing a lot of that, pulling off of pitches away from him. But last time up, he got a pitch closer to the middle of the plate and was able to get a sacrifice fly that tied the game.
And you know, at his age, when you miss a month, it's quite a struggle to catch back up again. And I didn't realize it would take him this long. He still hasn't really come out of it. He's just got 1 homer, and that was on the first day of the season. I'd like to see a little more production out of him.
First strikeout for Mujica. Now 2 down in the 8th inning. Salvador Perez, first home run in this ballpark. And really a mostly quiet road trip for Salvador Perez. Before that home run, Sal was 3 for 22 on this trip.
Didn't realize that. He is a swinger. We know that. He puts the ball in play, but you know, he makes such a difference behind the plate. You barely even recognize when he doesn't hit. He's putting in his time doing that side of it, which is the most important side.
Royals lead by 3 because of the Sal home run, but right now Omar Infante is on the hook for the game-winning RBI. It's 2 outs, single to right in the 6th inning, put the Royals in front 3-2. Zobrist to the line, over the line, and that will end the inning. Royals need 6 outs to go on defense to sweep the series. And now they have a 3-run lead thanks to this blast by Salvador Perez. remodeled this stadium. You remember this, There was a beautiful view of the hills. Mount Diablo is the peak. Not far from Berkeley. We will be indoors, I will assume, at Minute Maid Park for a 3-game series, all on Fox Sports Kansas City beginning tomorrow night. We're going to see what's going on with A.J. Hinch, the former Royal, and his first-place team in the American League West.
They're a powerful team. Can the Royals keep them in the yard?
They beat the Yankees today. Kelvin Herrera with Ben Zobrist, Josh Reddick, and Billy Butler coming up. Christian Colon takes over at shortstop in the 7th inning. Alcides Escobar appeared to take a ground ball off of his right index finger. He finished the inning, but it was bleeding, and you could tell that he had lost some sensation on his fingertips, so Colon will finish out the game as short.
Yeah. Give him the last couple innings off. Herrera, solid. Power fastball. I guess you'd call it a power changeup at 88 to 90. Ooh.
Zobrist is on with his second hit. He's also driven in a run.
He whistled that one right by Herrera's ear.
Well, he really uses his wrist well, doesn't he?
Sure does. Yeah, he was out there earlier, one of his earlier at-bats. They really keeping his hands back on a breaking ball. I think it was back in the 1st inning where he got a base hit.
Josh Reddick is 1 for 3 with a Sun lost bloop RBI single back in the 3rd inning. One of the big keys for the Royals to this point, the A's have not scored more than 2 runs in any of the 3 games. They have really pitched Stephen Vogt and Josh Reddick well. Those two have combined for 1 RBI so far in this series. Going the other way, that is a foul ball.
Right, you control the middle of their order. On any team, you're going to have success. But for 3 games, that's hard to do. See if they can take that to Houston, where they've got a lot of power. I mentioned it.
Fastball up, got him. 98 miles an hour.
Tough spot to try to make contact with, that's for sure. And that type of velocity, you got 2 chances, slim and none.
Now batting designated hitter, number 15, Billy Butler.
That strikeout keeps the potential tying run on deck. The Royals this year, when they lead after 7 innings, are 33-0. And now Herrera and Butler. 97 for a strike. Oh, and 2. Just got a couple of updates on Eric Hosmer and Alcides Escobar. Escobar out with a right index finger split nail bed. You get that?
Yep, I know exactly.
Hosmer with a strained left ring finger.
Both minor. Billy knows what's coming.
Sal, good job to keep it in front of him. He didn't see it right away.
See how he just uses that glove? He never tries to catch the ball like that. He just uses his glove as a stopper. He just kind of pushes it in front of him. Soft hands. Amazing job of that. Some catchers try to pick those and catch them and close their glove on it. Not Salvi.
Line, fair ball. That'll get Zobrist to third. Billy Butler to second base with a double, and the potential tying run comes to the plate.
Billy finally checks in. Herrera doing the same thing he did before. Fastballs, trying to challenge him. Billy was ready. Little toe tap, got her going right by a sprawled out Moose. And Alex Gordon in left field, a little bit disappointed that he didn't throw his buddy Billy out at second. A little bit offline with the throw. And Billy's looking at him right now from second base, looking at Alex Gordon, trying to get his attention. Look at him. He's trying to say, you couldn't get me.
And now he's telling Colon, you make sure you tell Alex.
That's exactly right.
So Ike Davis, he has hit just 2 home runs this year. At the plate with runners at second and third, 1 out. To left field, Alex is there. He caught it. The fans react thinking that he dropped it. Third base umpire Field and Colbert said it was a catch and a drop in transfer. Bob Melvin is going to argue that. So at least for now, it's a sacrifice fly, and Zobrist scores to make it 5-3.
Well, Melvin's going to question that call right there, but he might want to say something about that balk yesterday from Kazmir.
I'll tell you, the A's do something here that I haven't seen other teams do. They play the replays when there is no review, no challenge. So the fans have already seen a review, and now Colbreth, who made the call, he's also the crew chief and second in command. The home plate umpire Jim Reynolds, they'll take a look at it.
Let's check it out at it again. Okay, catch, transfer.
And he caught it.
Yeah. And when Dyson and Gordon converged and they started talking, they were talking about Billy. Dyson goes, did you see Billy looking at you, kind of trying to egg you on out there because you couldn't throw him out at second? They both laughed. I could tell. They're looking at Billy.
53 seconds with the review as the call is confirmed.
Stay hot, Field and Colbert.
The call on the field has been confirmed.
So it's a 5-3 game. The tying run is at the plate, and as fate would have it, that potential tying run is Max Muncy, whose throwing error back in the top of the 6th inning led to the Royals scoring 3 runs. Herrera with a rare curveball.
This was the play earlier. Had plenty of time to set his feet. Going on a run like that, he whiffed it.
Fouled away, 1 ball, 1 strike. Against Guthrie, Muncy was 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. He was the last man that Guthrie faced today. Jeremy struck him out, and Guthrie finished with a season high 7 strikeouts. Two and 1. With Muncy hitting, That means that Herrera doesn't face Brett Laurie, because Muncy is playing at third today instead of Laurie. Remember all the fireworks between those two. Popped up, a lot of foul ground. Mike Moustakas has room, and that is the inning. So all Muncy can do is slam his bat and his helmet into the dirt. The A's get one, and the Royals take a 2-run lead into the 9th inning. By 2, we have a Mazda game break, which takes us to Milwaukee. Adam Lind against Casey Fiend, and Lind goes the other way. That's a 2-run home run that gave Milwaukee a 5-1 lead, and they went on to win 5-3. They win the series from Minnesota, and so the Royals lead at the moment is 5 over the Twins, 6 over Detroit. They beat Chicago. And if the Royals can hang on, it would be 5.5 over Minnesota, 6.5 over Detroit.
Gotta love it. Just keep winning.
Fernando Abad. He is the 4th A's pitcher today.
88 to 93 with that fastball. Big curve.
Off of Stephen Vogt's foot. Pitch strikeout for Abad, 1 down in the 9th inning. So the answer to our question from an inning ago, it appears that Greg Holland is going to get the day off.
Number 24, Christian Colon.
Ned Yost went with Franklin Morales in the 7th, Kelvin Herrera in the 8th, and it'll be Wade Davis in the 9th.
What a luxury Ned has to be able to do this. The bullpen's deep. They've needed it. Not a lot of innings from the Royals starters this year, so a little bit more taxing to the bullpen, but they've got extra arms. An extra bonus.
Christian Colon came on defensively for Alcides Escobar, who split a nail on his right hand fielding a ground ball. This is Colon's first plate appearance of the road trip. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
If the injury to Escobar was severe, he would have came out, but he stayed in the game. So that tells me he's hopefully going to be all right for tomorrow.
69 miles an hour, and that's a swing. Manny Gonzalez with some attitude, punching out Christian Colon on appeal.
No, he didn't have to do that.
No, I mean, that almost seemed a little personal, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, nice try to check the swing. Watch him. Watch the umpire.
Ooh. Easy.
Wow.
Wow. Big curve for a strike to Mike Moustakas. Mike Moustakas yesterday lost a 10-game hitting streak. He started a new one today with a leadoff double in the 6th inning, and that triggered a 3-run inning, and that bat hit Kendrys Morales. Who thankfully has a smile on his face. That got him solid right in the back.
Like how he played it off. Can't hurt Steele.
Backhanded by Simeon. Bobbled. Throws late.
How about a courtesy hit for Moose?
It's an error on Simeon. That's a second error of the game.
Number 25
for the Oakland A's.
And the 23rd by Simeon.
And the numbers get even uglier, Hud. That is 75 errors for the Oakland A's. That's the most in the major leagues by 14. They have 14 more errors than any other team.
No wonder Bob Melvin went out.
23 for Simeon?
Yeah, it's his 23rd error. Bob Melvin went out and brought Ron Washington, former manager of the Rangers, out to be an infield instructor, trying to help these guys, mainly Simeon. And I talked with Ron Washington about Simeon and what he's working with him on, and he said, how do you know it's about the footwork? If you get your feet in the right place, your gloves should be right there. They're also concentrating on catching the ball out in front instead of behind you a little bit, deeper towards your body. But mainly it's the footwork that it's not right. You could see it on that backhand play.
One and two on Morales. Kendrys has an 11-game hitting streak. He extended that with a single in the Royals' 3-run 6th inning. Royals were down 2-0 when they got 3 in the 6th. Perez hit a 2-run home run in the 8th. Oakland got a run in the bottom of the 8th.
Let's take a look at that play that Morales made in the 8th, back in the 8th. It's a good play. He decided to come and get it. This is a guy's only his 3rd start. Watch him. That's Chopper here. If you wait back on this, the ball's going to eat you up. Morales comes and gets it. That's a great reaction on contact by Morales. Doing a nice job over there for Ned.
2-2. .68 miles an hour, and Morales slams it out into deep center field. Burns makes the play, and that'll do it for the Royals in the top of the 9th. Wade Davis gets the call in the 9th inning today, going for his 9th save. 3-game sweep. Today's copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Kansas City Royals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Ryan Lefevre, Rex Hudler, Joel Goldberg. The O.co Coliseum with producer Joe Lavero, director Steve Kurtenbach, our associate producers Al Broughton, Sam Abramson, Dave Holtzman, and the producer of Royals Live is Brian Shapiro. Wade Davis will get the 9, 1, and 2 hitters. And a big curve in for a strike to Sam Fuld.
How about that little yellow hammer to start? Good hard cutter and a fastball to go with it. Regulars about 97. He'll top out at, but anywhere from 90 to 97 will work for him.
Here's the cutter. Wade Davis yesterday had both a struggling and impressive outing all wrapped into one.
That's the second one of those consecutive outings. Well, he's hoping that he has an uneventful time here, but strike one is always important, and he's gotten ahead. But wants to continue to challenge Fuld. Put him pitch to contact.
Broken bat, foul ball. The struggling part of Wade's outing yesterday, he came on in the 8th inning in a 1-run game. He walked Sam Fuld, whom he's facing right now. He walked Brett Lawrie, and then he was 3-0 on Stephen Vogt. He was 1 pitch away from loading the bases with nobody out. But he came back to strike out Vogt, and then he got Ben Zobrist to ground into a double play. I remember when the trade was made, we knew a lot more about James Shields than we did Wade Davis. And James Shields was asked, how would you describe Wade Davis? And James Shields said he is a silent assassin. That's a swing, and down goes Fuld.
He is.
And at the time, it was, didn't really make a lot of sense. We didn't know a whole lot about Wade Davis. He had some up and down years with the Tampa Bay Rays, but can you think of a better way to describe him than how we were first introduced to him?
Not at all. And Fuld, he definitely went on that. He's got to go.
He is a man of very few words, but you get into a conversation with him, a very deep thinker, very thoughtful person. But boy, you hardly see any emotion on the mound from him, whether he's cutting through a lineup 3 up, 3 down with 3 strikeouts, or has to reach back for a little extra like he did yesterday. Just the same demeanor.
Boy, dangerous. I mean, he's got him guessing. Hitters are looking fastball, but the movement, it's that late movement, that cutter there, it's been good. He wants to get in there with a strike.
Billy Burns has 2 hits and a 16-game hitting streak to take him up to 326. Two balls and 1 strike. Royals are 39-0 this year when they have a lead in the 9th inning. Two and 2. Just outside. Sal tried to bring it back into the strike zone. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
He caught that with conviction. Challenge him right down the middle.
Or pitch it in on his knuckles. And Colon makes a play for the 2nd out.
Man, That ball, that was definitely ball 4. There's a hitter committed on swinging.
Babe Willie Aaron couldn't hit that pitch.
No.
Or at least hit that pitch and get a base hit.
Wade Davis says thank you. Stay away from those walks.
So Marcus Semien with 2 down, nobody on. Semien as a pinch hitter in the 7th inning, grounded out to 3rd, adding for Sogard. Late on a fastball, very late on a fastball. Wade Davis in his first 32 appearances this year has given up 1 run. 1. 2 balls and 1 strike.
How valuable has Wade Davis been in the back end of Ned's bullpen? Could do anything with it.
I think we can start calling it the Wade Davis trade.
Exactly. I agree.
That'll be out of play.
Guys, he's solid wherever you put him.
James Shields had the immediate impact. But when it's all said and done, and maybe we're at that point right now, maybe we'll look back and say, remember that trade, that Wade Davis trade with the Rays?
Difference maker.
Still 3-2. Jeremy Guthrie went the first 6. He struck out a season high 7, allowing 2 runs. Morales pitched a scoreless inning. The A's did get a run against Herrera in the 8th. And now 2 down in the 9th. Wade Davis 1 strike away. And it's hit well into left center field. Long run for Alex, and it's off the top of the wall. So that second panel kept the ball in the ballpark. And remember, Wade Davis has that ridiculously long streak of innings without allowing a home run. And that allows the A's to bring Stephen Vogt to the plate.
On contact, the way the ball carries in Day here, I thought that had a chance. Good easy swing. Didn't try to overswing it there. And Gordon looked up and, whew, man, that's 4 or 5 feet from leaving the yard. Wade Davis, he knows as long as he stays in this game, someone's going to hit a homer off him. But look, if it doesn't hurt the team, he don't care. He just wants that win and a save.
Stephen Vogt faces Wade Davis for the first time in this series. 1 for 2 with a strikeout. Let me take that back. Davis struck out Vogt yesterday, coming back from 3-0. So it is his 3rd matchup overall, 2nd of this series. Two balls and no strikes. Marcus Semien had been 0 for 15 before that double. Now timeout. Salvador Perez is going to go out and have a chat with Wade. That's a big at bat for Semien. Huge at bat. I mean, 0 for his last 15. Struggling at the plate. He's been struggling in the field. Just trying to get it to the middle of the order. Vogt, Zobrist, Reddick. And Davis was 1 strike away from ending the game and the series.
Yep, you never know here. You got to be careful. This guy's dangerous. And we talked about that pitching and keep it away from it.
High strike, 2 balls, 1 strike.
Stay right there on him. Throw that curveball, make sure we keep that down.
Got him to chase a pitch down and out of the strike zone.
Good pitch there. Great selection and great location. Now he puts that pitch in the back of Vogt's mind. Sometimes does a lot of wonder. He's not sure exactly what he's going to come with 2-2 here. He's got to look for the fastball. But sometimes that big curve, and as good as it is, lock him up.
High fastball strikes him out. The Royals win the series. They sweep the series. And they have a 5.5 game lead in the Central Division.
That's what we're talking about. Game 3, you already took the first 2. Step on their neck. Nice job. Loved the action. Guthrie was fantastic. Got some more clutch hits, another big inning. 3 runs in the 6th. Man, I'm going to tell you, the frenzy hitting was there, but it's time to get on the bus and forget about us. Great series.
Wade Davis is 9 for 9 and save opportunities.